Hello, everyone. Another episode of Awaken Woman podcast. I'm today with Alicia. So excited about this topic, Alicia, by the way. Alicia is a woman's empowerment coach, feminine energy mentor, and international yoga teacher. And in today's episode, we are going to chat about somatic embodiment, the wisdom of the body, somatic practices, healing, and just in general, what embodiment and self-awareness and somatic practices and somatic healing is. So yeah, I'm very excited to have you here, Alicia. I just wanted to mention that before we jumped into the podcast recording, we were chatting about Bali and our own experiences in Bali. So I'm gonna go to Bali in a few weeks. So I'm very excited. And Alicia has been there a few times. So if you want tips, yeah, it's so exciting. So if you want tips about Bali, you can also contact Alicia. So yeah, just before we dive deeper into this topic that I'm sure is gonna be an amazing topic for everyone that is into this spirituality journey or personal development, or just even curious about what is exactly somatic work, embodiment, and how we can support our body in our healing. I would love you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here. So yeah, just as you mentioned, I work as a women's empowerment coach, a feminine energy mentor, and a yoga teacher. And it's interesting because when I first was introduced to yoga, it was from a doctor's office. My body was in physical pain. My doctor had a look at everything. She said, there is nothing physically wrong with you. Go to yoga. And I was like, I didn't really understand that at the time, but I went to yoga. And I was still a little bit in the mindset of, I want to be flexible and I want to do the cool poses, like what, reasons people go to yoga because they want to de-stress and they want to look cool while doing it. But then I actually went through a pretty horrific burnout that lasted about 2 years, very intensely. My entire life collapsed because I was not connected to my body. I was not listening to my body, to my intuition, to the warning signs. I just kept pushing ahead with work, with unhealthy relationships, with all that sort of thing. So it was actually my burnout that I had a moment lying on the yoga mat in child's pose, breathing into my body. And for the first time, I could feel my body. It was like she was pleading with me. She's like, why is it never enough? Like, why are you pushing me? Why don't you listen to me? Why don't you love me? And I was like, whoa, okay, this is confrontational. Wow. So I made a promise right there on the mat. I'm like, okay, from now on, we're going to do things differently. You and I are going to work together. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to love you. And this is how we're going to move forward. So that was actually the beginning of my embodiment journey, because as I was healing from burnout and understanding my energy and understanding my body, my yoga practice completely changed. It went from being another thing that I push at, like trying to achieve these poses and let's sweat and let's go. It transformed into, what do I feel right now? What do I need right now? How can I honor that? And how can I use breath and movement to just be with my body, build this relationship with my body so that my practice feels fulfilling and nourishing rather than, okay, another thing I have to tick off my list, Yeah. So that was a little bit the beginning of it. And so all my classes that I started teaching with yoga was really focused on, guys, what do you feel? And so often I tell my students, like, okay, I'm going to give you space. Go listen. Your body is your best teacher. What do you need right now? Go. I'm not going to say anything. And people who are new in my classes are looking at me like, what? What's happening?
What is happening here? Yeah. Is this a yoga class or what?
Yeah, exactly. But the students that come regularly to me, it's amazing. You just see them completely drop into themselves, and everybody is doing something different. Some people are perfectly still and just breathing. Other people are moving. It's really, really beautiful. And it's like, how can you create a kind of love letter to your body? How can you move with this gratitude and this appreciation for this incredible being that you have, because your body is communicating with you all the time. It holds all the experiences you've ever been through in your life. And there's so much that we can learn from our bodies. So as I began to transition also into coaching, doing a lot of mindset work, doing a lot of spiritual practices, I also incorporate embodiment practices, because I believe, yes, mindset work is fantastic, but you can say affirmations over and over and over again. But if your body doesn't believe it because you're holding on to trauma or negative beliefs still stuck in the tissues, you're not gonna get very far, because it's holding you back. So we need to then physically move that energy out and express it through the body to move forward. So that's a little bit some of the work that I do.
Yeah, what a beautiful introduction, to be honest. Like, what a better way to introduce this topic than our actual experience with what embodiment is and all these practices. And I think before I jump a little bit deeper into what you mentioned, I think a very important point that I want, it would be great that everyone takes from this podcast, is the importance of implementing these mindfulness and somatic practices, because it's not only about because it's gonna bring that awareness, it's because the realizations, the connection with the body, the connection with the self, the connection with the emotions, and that's when we start getting the answers. Is the underlying meaning of starting all these practices, and what that means, that the actual practice itself, it's not like doing a child pose beautifully, and you're gonna just be so flexible, and you're just gonna increase that strength in your body. Yes, that's let's say a byproduct of doing it, but the actual and deeper work and meaning of doing these practices is the underlying for our soul, for our body. So I think that was a beautiful way to put it. And just to put a little bit more of knowledge, or teaching exactly what the science of embodiment is just being in the present moment with all our senses. So it includes our external world, our external senses, so any sensations, any movements, any emotions, any impulses. So when we are in the present moment, we are able to respond from what I'm seeing now. And what happens is, when we are usually reacting from our past, we're just going to react from a similar situation that we had in the past that created painful experiences, limiting beliefs, or a story that we keep repeating this story. So another very important part of the embodiment of the science of embodiment is mindfulness, mindful body awareness. So it's just being present and observing and just being with the body and in our senses. What do we feel moment by moment? What do I need? So your example was perfect, because then you started is a very important part. And I think if people are just getting into this topic for the first time, of you already been into this topic, you will hear a lot from us, and in general, is taking yourself out of your mind and into your body, where the answers and your healing lies there. Definitely. So what is if we want to give some tips on how people can start being more in tune with their bodies, because we understand that there are people that maybe went through even a lot of traumatic experiences in the past, and being in their body doesn't feel safe, because their nervous system is still, quite high intensive emotions, so not regulated in homeostasis, which is like the a perfect state that we will say for our body and nervous system. So how can we give some tips to people if they want to be more in touch with their bodies?
Yeah, this is a huge question. Okay, let's break it down one thing at a time.
Yes.
So exactly what you said. So like, embodiment means to be in the body, and you'd be surprised how often we're not. Like,
Yes.
you can say that and people are like, yeah, I live in my body every day, so what's the big deal? No, think about this. How often are you actually in your mind thinking about the future, thinking about the past, thinking about what you have to do later today, thinking about solving a problem? Like, you're not actually here, present in your body. And so you notice this a lot with people. They're like, oh, I forgot to eat today, or I forgot to drink water. Like, they're not even listening to the basic tunes, that signals that their body is giving them. Like, hi, I need a break from work. I need to stretch. I need to move. I need to drink water. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to eat something.
Yes.
Even people who are disconnected from that because they're so in their minds and they're just focused on work. So
Yeah.
in a very simple way, to begin to bring some of this awareness back is to take a moment to breathe into your body. I find breath is one of the fastest ways to do this.
Mhm.
So to step away from your computer, or just, sit by your computer, feet on the floor, closing your eyes, placing maybe hands on your belly, and deep, full breath into your belly. Really let the belly expand. And then slow exhale. And you just repeat this a few times, and you start to ask yourself, just with this hint of curiosity, what do I feel?
Mm.
And you can feel things that are tangible, like the seat that you're sitting on and the texture of the clothing on your skin, and actually what it feels like to breathe. Like, whoa, I'm actually creating space right now when I inhale. And when I exhale, I can feel, oh, my shoulders are softening, or, okay, I can feel my heart beating. So, oh, I might be a little bit stressed, or, oh, I can feel an emotion start to come up, or, oh, I can feel my back is actually twinging a little bit. There's a muscle spasm there. It's just starting to tune into the signals that your body's giving you in a really, really basic way. So a lot of people call this practice mindfulness, right? Like, just to be aware of your senses. But it goes a little bit further, because it's not being mindful. It's really bringing your awareness into what you feel,
Yeah.
and letting the intelligence of your body start to speak to you. And the more that you can practice this, the easier it starts to become. You really tune into, ooh, I don't feel safe in this environment, or, ooh, this conversation is making me uncomfortable, or, ooh, that's a boundary coming up, or, like, ooh, my intuition is speaking to me right now. Like, you get to really feel into
Yeah.
the subtleties. I mean, in my own experience, I started to feel food that didn't really feel good. As soon as I ate it, my body would tell me, like, oh, I don't really like, this doesn't feel good. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't think I should eat this type of food. Or
Yeah.
it became very, very, very sensitive to all sorts of things, to other people's energy, to where I wanted to spend my time, what felt good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it became
100%.
very, very sensitive.
Yeah, because I think a very important aspect of being more connected with our bodies is that we also start intensifying this connection with our gut feeling and our intuition, which is, what guide us to where we need to be, where we, what decisions we need to make, where we need to make changes. So this is so important, because when we are not implementing embodiment practices, then we can be making decisions from our past, from our triggers,
Yes.
from our fears, and that's
From other
usually
people's opinions. Even we're doing it
exactly.
because other people want us to do it. We're not listening to ourselves. Yeah.
Exactly. So we are not able to recognize what is really coming from me because I want to make this decision, or because I need to, move my life to a different direction. It's just learning to be more in tune with what you want, what you need, where do you need to be, what decisions you have to make. So the more we slow down that process of being more connected to the body and being more connected to the self, the more we will making decisions from our past wounding, from our past narratives, from our parents' narratives, as you said, from other people's limiting beliefs, from society programming. So that's why I think it's more important that what we think is not only, oh, I'm going to be within my body because I'm just healing myself. No, it's also because being in tune with your body, being in tune with your intuition is listening to where you need to go, is directing you to where you need to be in life.
Exactly. That is such a huge part of it. And
Yeah.
I find that that body awareness also wakes you up to your patterns that are not serving you. So, for example, I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I kind of was on autopilot, like not even having the awareness. Like someone says this, yep, okay, I'll do that, to like, I'll go along with you. I'll put my needs on the side and put your needs first.
Yeah.
But through the practices of embodiment and really getting into my body, I can feel my body tightening or feeling a little bit sick when my impulse is to do that. And I can feel the feedback saying, "Ooh, this isn't actually what I want. I'm in an old pattern right now where I put other people's needs first."
Yes.
So my body is actually telling me, "Girl, no." So, and having that awareness gives you then the space to choose differently, to start to break those patterns. It's really, really valuable.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most important parts that we can mention, because it's learning to be more in tune and connected to the authentic self, to who we really are, and start to peeling those layers of fear of our parents' opinions, our parents' programming, our parents' beliefs, and that's coming from their grandparents, from their parents. It's just like a generational passing of trauma, of limiting beliefs. So I think it's very important. And another very important part of embodiment practices is they use the body as a way or as a tool for healing through self-awareness, through mindfulness, through connection. Self-regulation is also very important. And this is where we are introducing probably now somatic work. So we started with Alicia doing the introduction of embodiment, is basically what we've been talking about. And somatic work is, bringing those practices that involve the body. So yoga or breathing or meditation, visualization, movement, dancing. There's so many. So all these practices is just gonna increase this, as I said, connection and self-awareness to the body that will start guiding us to, to the places that we're meant to be, and creating self-acceptance. And embodiment explores the relationship between the physical being and our energy. So I think that's also, so when we are in an environment, it's starting to notice how my energy is impacting that environment, and how other people's energies is impacting mine, and also learning to protect that, and have that discernment of what are the places, what are the people that is bringing this good energy in my body, who is making me feel good, or what are the places and the people and the situations that not. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, like you were saying, like the somatic practices are incredibly powerful because, as we mentioned at the beginning, your body stores every memory that you've ever been through, every experience, but it also remembers patterns from your ancestors. Like it lives in your DNA, things that you've experienced, your family has experienced. And there's actually science and studies to prove this, that children or even grandchildren of people who experience severe trauma are carrying that trauma also in their bodies. It's really being passed through the bloodline, which is why these practices are so important to start to heal this. And these practices really open up pathways in the body for this energy to finally be released and expressed. And it's coming into almost a subconscious energetic truth that we can't access with the logical mind. And so the way to go through that is with the body. Now, you also asked in the beginning, but what happens if someone doesn't feel safe in their body because they've experienced some kind of trauma, or they've had their boundaries crossed, or they don't trust their bodies because they feel betrayed by their body in some way. And then the practice is, it's really important to be working with someone one-on-one, especially, I believe, someone who's trauma informed, who can guide you into feeling safe, because trauma happens when something happens to you that you don't feel you have any control over, you don't feel you get to say no, you don't feel you get to set boundaries, it just happens to you. And you're like, oh, whether that's a car accident or some kind of physical, sexual abuse or whatever it might be. So part of that process is reclaiming your power, your authority, reclaiming your own power over your body. So what is okay for you and what is not. And it's really important in that if someone is leading some sort of practice and they say, okay, so if you want to do this, you can do that. You tune into what you're feeling and saying, oh, I don't know if I actually feel safe to extend my arms right now. That doesn't feel good for me. And then giving yourself the permission to be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I choose to keep my arms close to my body. That feels safer for me. So it's slowly creating a sense of safety in your body and reclaiming your yes and your no for what feels okay for you and what doesn't. Because so often we kind of go along with what everybody says, so if someone says, okay, like stand up tall and spread your arms out wide, and you're like, oh, I feel exposed in my heart and in my belly, I don't like this. Okay, bring the hands in and choose not to. It's reclaiming that autonomy over your own body, your own decisions, your being, that you are an individual being free to make your own choices, and reclaiming that power back.
I think the power back is like one of them. So beautiful. Because what happens here, right, is when we're not operating from that inner wisdom, and by being connected with our bodies, is we're letting all these limiting beliefs and programming and those old narratives that I've mentioned before. So what happens is we are constantly letting our hurt inner child be at the front of our life when we are making important decisions, mainly when we are triggered. So in those moments where we are triggered, what happens is our body goes back to that initial former situation, and in that moment our body and our inner child felt helpless, victim, powerless. I'm not important. I'm not good enough. My needs don't matter. My voice don't matter because no one listens to me. So we keep those beliefs as we go on, and when we are triggered, our hurt inner child literally goes back to that moment, and that's why our nervous system goes into that shock, right? Where then,
and our body remembers that pattern and
exactly
replicates that.
Exactly. And then that's when it comes, we different coping mechanism or self-protection mechanism, or fight, flight, appease, just there's so many. So in those moments, for people who are listening, okay, so how do I do to change that pattern? So is just observing, right? Recognizing, how am I feeling in my body in those moments? Okay, I recognize that I'm anxious. I recognize that my palms are sweaty. I recognize that my heart is starting to beat like really fast. It's just recognizing and bringing compassion and acceptance to yourself and to your body. And once you start coming down by what Alicia mentioned of breathing is, I would say, the most important. If you are starting this practice, start with breathing. Deep breaths. Deep breath in, deep breath out. If you're in a situation where it's very, very intense, another good way is notice different things outside of that situation in your environment. Okay, there's a car passing there. Oh, I can see, the sky is blue. Just start naming. So you will take yourself out of that intense state in your body to regulate. Out of the memory, so you can regulate a little bit more, and then you come back to that state and start, having that deep connection with the body of, how do I feel? I'm safe in my body now. I'm not a child living this situation again. I have the power. I can control how I feel. I can make choices. I can speak for myself. And I'm closing my eyes because that's what I do when I do this exercise. So I think that's just to give also tips on how, like, what's the practical work that they can do. Is the most important one, right? And I will give you also for you to comment on that, is taking a step back from the reaction, those few seconds that you give yourself when you want to react, to actually take a few deep breaths, and you actually don't even need 10 seconds, you need way less. You will be so grateful that you didn't react, because those are the first few seconds that, you know, you can bring back yourself to the present moment and kind of start doing this practice of, okay, what is it coming up for me, and respond consciously later, or in that moment, you know, if you need to say, you know, I need to take some time from this moment to regulate myself, or, you know, I'm not able to talk about this right now. Whereas in the past, you probably reacted and situations just escalated.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
what's your view on that in a specific, on how we can, you know, help ourselves and our nervous system in those moments where we are triggered?
Yeah, definitely. The more that we practice mindfulness, awareness, embodiment, the easier it is to help ourselves when we're triggered. Because when we're triggered, we're in a fight, flight, or freeze state.
Yes.
The nervous system takes over, parts of our brain shut down, so we can't actually make logical decisions. So it can be really hard to be like, oh, la, 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 because we're freaking out, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing I like to do is I like to put hands on my body to calm myself. There's two practices I really like for this. One is to take one hand underneath my armpit, across the body underneath my armpit, and then wrap the other hand around me like a hug. When you were a baby, you were picked up underneath your armpits, right? This is how we hold babies. So this is going back to that reptile part of our brain. Our body remembers this, and we hold ourselves, creating safety. And here I like to breathe. I like to stroke my arm. I like to tell myself, it's okay, babe, I love you. It's a lot of self-love. I can feel you're freaking out. It's okay, I'm here, I'm here. That really helps to calm me down personally. I also really like to rub my hands together to create heat, and then put my hands either on my heart, if that's where I'm feeling it, on my throat, if I feel like my words are stuck, I can't express myself, on my belly, if that's where my fear is, or to cover my face if I'm feeling shame or guilt, you know, like really just let myself hide a bit behind the warmth of my hands. So ways to self-touch to calm the nervous system down, combining that with deep breaths, which signal to your body, signal to your nervous system, okay, the danger has passed. I can regulate and come back down into a parasympathetic state. And then what you said, okay, look around. I'm in this present moment. I'm not in that past moment. So what can I see? What can I smell? What can I hear? Okay, yeah, I can feel my feet on the ground. I'm here in this present moment. And that just helps, like, okay. And then from there, because your body has by this point calmed down a little bit more, so you can think a little bit clearly. Then I ask myself, what do I need right now? And sometimes the answer is, I need to call my best friend and vent. I need to go for a run and move this energy. I need to scream into a pillow. I need to cry for 3 hours. Like, I need to go, like, I don't know, I need to put on my favorite movie and comfort myself. Like, then you can start to tap into what do I need in this moment. But to first physically calm the body down, because it's physical. You can never tell someone who's having an anxiety attack, oh, just calm down.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. Like, they know they have to calm down, but their body has taken over. The mind can't control the body here. So this is why using the body is one of, I think, possibly the only way to then calm it down and regulate is to use the body.
And that's exactly why empathy and compassion with ourselves in those moments is so important, because if we are already shaming, you know, and just blaming ourselves for the way we are reacting or the way we are feeling, then it's just adding even more pain into how we feel, because we are not even accepting and having compassion to those emotions. We're avoiding those emotions, repressing those emotions, invalidating the way we feel. So it just adds even more. Just imagine if you were crying and you were a kid and your parent just said, oh, just, you know, don't cry, just stand up and stop crying. Why are you crying all the time? You will feel so rejected. So that's exactly how our body feels when we don't bring that compassion.
Yeah, and it's so important to accept yourself as you are. Okay, babe, you're freaking out. I always talk to myself as babe, honey, darling, like
Yeah.
you're freaking out. It's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. Freak out. It's okay. You can freak out.
Yeah.
Oh, you're super
Exactly.
upset. Oh, you're really angry. It's okay. Be angry. Like
Yeah.
you're allowed to feel what you feel. And so much of this process is about cultivating genuine, authentic self-love. Because as you said, when you start to judge yourself, attack yourself, it just re-traumatizes you even more, because you're saying, I'm not allowed to feel what I'm feeling. I'm wrong for feeling what I'm feeling. Okay, the trauma is just getting bigger and stronger. So
Yeah.
much of this is treating yourself
Yeah.
like your best friend, like your inner cheerleader. Like I created this persona in the back of my mind, and she just talks to me. She's so compassionate.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, honey, it's fine. I'm here for you. Cry. I'm listening. Tell me everything.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I can vent and feel sorry for myself. And she's like, yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
fine.
So
I
many
agree. I
aspects I
agree.
want to comment. Like this topic is amazing. I really like everything that we're
It's
talking about.
so layered. It's so deep.
So
For something that
yes,
sounds
so
so
deep.
simple, like
Yeah.
connect to your body, it
Yeah.
is this entire world of healing. And it is just so powerful and fundamentally at the core of who we are. This
Yeah.
is why this work is just so
So
enriching. It's
powerful.
just
Yeah.
so
And
incredibly powerful.
another factor that what we were talking just before about, bringing that compassion and acceptance to the body, and just, trying to regulate ourselves, even if we just need to have a look at what is around us, be more in tune with our senses. If we cannot bring ourselves back in that moment to a regulative state, is that's just basically creating safety, learning to create safety in the body, because healing cannot happen if you don't feel safe to feel. Because
Exactly.
the healing happens when we are feeling those emotions, when we are feeling those repressed emotions, that pain. And we are not learning to create that safetiness, we are not going to be able to feel those emotions. So that's probably one first step that I wanted to mention there. And the second one is maybe for people that will ask, I don't even feel anything. And that's probably because your body disassociated. You probably went through very, very painful experiences as kids. And by the way, this is very, very common. Like we all disassociate at some point in our lives when we go through. It's actually like a self-protective mechanism. So your body is
Definitely.
protecting you, and that's probably what you needed in that moment. If your body disassociated, that's what you needed. So it's actually like thanking our body for protecting us, and doing its job of keeping us safe, and is starting to learn and practice little by little, teaching our bodies that it's okay to feel. So don't do it from 0 to 10. And mainly if you have more difficulty in feeling emotions, know that this is normal. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just learning little by little, like as a baby, when we learn to walk, right? We just don't start running from one day to another. We fall, and then we stand up again. We try again, we fall, and we stand up again, until one day we don't even remember that we were falling, because we're already walking with so much confidence. That's exactly what all this work is teaching to your body little by little that feeling is fine, feeling is okay. Yeah,
That's where the magic is.
that's
Yeah.
where the magic is.
That's where
And
the magic is.
yeah, it's so beautiful. And I think you mentioned at some point also the inner wisdom, right, of our bodies is self-directing, is self-correcting, and it helps us to unfold ourselves into wholeness, into who we really are. And that's why, like, the body, and I think there's a documentary from Gabor Mate that I think it says yeah, I forgot the name, but it's about, like, bringing that wholeness, and the body has so much wisdom.
Yeah. The body's communicating with you all the time. And even emotions are energy in motion, right? Like every emotion has something to teach you.
Yeah.
And I feel like in our society, we're like, yay, feel positive emotions. That's great. But don't feel the negative ones. Those are bad. And that's not the case. Like, sadness shows that you are grieving something, or you're disappointed by something, and anger shows that a boundary has been crossed, that something's not okay with you. And jealousy shows you that, oh, that's something that I want, actually. Like, you know, like everything has beautiful feedback, and lessons, and those old stories that it's trying to be released through the body. And we see this also in the animal kingdom, right? Like if a tiger is chasing a deer, I don't even know if they're in the same environment, like, but let's just put those two together. An antelope, let's see, a lion is chasing an antelope. They're in the same, in the same area. The antelope gets away, and the first thing it does is shake its body, because it's had so much adrenaline, saying, you know, trying to get away from the predator, that when it's safe, to regulate, it has to shake all of that stress off to come back into a neutral, safe state. So animals do this as well. And as human beings, we just haven't learned how to do this. So we feel that adrenaline and that stress and that fear. And then we're like, okay, cool, I'm going to watch TV now, or, you know what I mean? So it doesn't have anywhere to go in the body. So expressing emotions, expressing that energy is just releasing that charge from your body. And this is so important, not only for trauma and our mental well-being and our happiness, but energy that doesn't get expressed has nowhere to go but inside the cells of our bodies, into our tissues. And after time, this causes physical pain. And after longer time, this causes disease and illness. This is what happens in the body.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that's
and there has been studies to show this connection as well, that things start on an energetic level. So this is why this kind of releasing is so important. But if you're dealing with something that's very intense and very heavy, please make sure you have someone who is trauma informed, that can support you, someone you feel safe with, that can guide you through this process, because we want to make sure that you feel okay, that you can express freely. And then afterwards, you also feel safe, you feel regulated. This is really, really important.
Yeah, and I think that another aspect to consider there as well, right, is all the basic needs, because we also, you know, heal in feeling safe in our body, but we also heal in feeling safe in our environment. So I'm sure you've heard, and people who are listening to us, we cannot heal in the same space where we got that trauma or that pain. And that's just true, right? If, let's say, we have an example where, you know, there's a family that is being chased by, I don't know, thefts, right? And all the time are threatening that they're gonna come and kill them. So imagine the state of high anxiety that they are living, and their nervous system is in high anxiety every day because they don't feel safe. So we cannot heal in environments where our basic needs are not met. So we first need to start from the basics, right? Like whenever I have clients, and even me, whenever I feel like, you know, I'm in those low moments where I feel like not even my mindfulness practices are working, I just go back to the basics. You know, am I sleeping well? Am I eating well? Am I taking time for myself? Am I taking, you know, time outdoors? Am I having fun? Am I including joy in my life? So go always back to basics and start from there, incrementally, like implementing all these practices by having those initial needs met.
Exactly. And the stress doesn't have to come from someone who's trying to kill you. But the thing is, your body doesn't know the difference.
Exactly.
Our society has evolved so fast, and our body is, you know, is quite ancient, actually. It hasn't caught up to where we are as a society. So our body doesn't know that a deadline at work is not as threatening as someone's trying to kill me. It thinks it's the same, basically, right? This is why we feel that stress and that adrenaline. And if you think about it on an energetic level, if we go to the first chakra, the first energy center, that's all about survival. So there is maybe a story that says, if I don't make this deadline at work, I can lose my job, I can lose my income, I can lose my home, I'm not safe, I'm not taken care of. It is actually a threat to my survival. So this is why finding ways to make sure that you feel safe is really, really important. And those practices that you were talking about are essential. Yeah, those basics as well.
And I just wanted to give a one example before we start wrapping up and giving just like the key takeaways, is that a really small example of how like this can affect our body is I usually get very triggered when people have lack of communication. I'm very much someone who values communication, and if there's something happening for you, let me know, because I cannot read minds. If you are struggling and you cannot get back to me at some point, and I message you at some point, let me know. But people who take like just days and weeks to reply. So the other day I had a situation where I was having this situation again coming up, and it was just coming, really triggering me. And my first reaction is flight, get away from the situation, because that's when all our, beliefs and core wounds come up, and our insecurities. Instead of running away from those emotions, what I did was sitting with those emotions to actually dig deeper into why someone not answering is really triggering that much. And when I started noticing and going deeper, it was, I'm not important, I'm invisible. And what happens if I'm invisible? Well, if I'm invisible, I don't exist. And what happens if I don't exist? I'm dead. So it just came to, oh my God, wow. So my nervous system thinks like, if someone is not seeing me and not like having that interaction with me and replying, I'm dead. So it's just like,
it's
even
so extreme.
It's so extreme, like in little things. And so then it's just coming to a realization and being like, okay, I'm safe. It's not about me. And then I just suddenly started feeling, oh, wow, this is so liberating, because we sit with the emotion and we dig deeper into why is this happening to me. So
and that's the thing, like you ask those questions, you get the answers, right? Because the body's telling you, well, it feels like my survival is threatened. It feels like I don't exist, so yeah.
Exactly. So you just tell your body, you exist.
Work.
I see you.
I feel you, you're here. I can feel my feet on the floor. I can touch my face. I'm here. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we're safe. And that's how we start, in practical terms, like a small example, learning that regulation and self-regulation, and that somatic work, and that embodiment through self-awareness, and all the amazing topics. So what if we do like as a takeaway, maybe 3 points each, and then we wrap up, Alicia?
I love that. Yep. Let's do that.
Perfect. So, okay, my 3 tips will be, first, start implementing and building safety within the body. And how we do that is little by little, teaching our body that it's okay to feel, sitting with those emotions, not necessarily doing from 0 to 10, but just small baby steps every day, and feeling a little bit more, sitting with that discomfort that you felt during the day, or something that is annoying you, or something that is upsetting you. It's okay to feel that emotion of being upset, as long as you are feeling it within yourself in a safe environment, not against anyone. It's okay. So safety is the first one. The second one is embodied self-awareness. Is starting to notice our body every day, as Alicia mentioned. Sometimes we feel we are in our bodies because we live in our bodies, but our mind is completely disconnected to our bodies. And just bring yourself always back, and checking in on a regular basis, multiple times a day. How do you feel? Bring back that deep breaths, and start having more self-awareness, embodied self-awareness with your body in the present moment. And the third one, let me see which one could be the third one, is probably all the mindfulness techniques, meditation, yoga, breath work, visualization, dancing, any practice that brings you back to yourself and connected to your body.
I love that.
Yes.
Super cool. Okay, so 3 tips. I'm going to try to make them different from yours, which makes it a lot of information.
Yeah, we gave
I think the first thing is to start to be kinder to your body. Especially as women, we are so critical so harsh towards our physical beings. We think they have to look a certain way, and if they don't, then they're bad, and we want to change things, and we don't accept this, and we don't like this, and we can always talk about something we don't like about ourselves. Let's stop doing that. Let's start to look at our bodies with gratitude, with awe, with just incredible thanks for everything our body does every single day, trying its best to keep us alive. And starting to notice our own beauty in that as well, because we are so unique and our body is just so precious, so beautiful. So that would be number one. Number two would be, let me think, I think a continuation of that, in the sense of your self-talk. So I would start to practice talking to yourself in a really encouraging and compassionate way with little things. So not even when you're triggered, just to get used to this voice. So for example, you did something small and you say to yourself, well done, babe, I'm proud of you, or just starting to create this positive self-talk so that when you are feeling upset or you're feeling triggered, you have a voice that can come forward and say, it's okay, I know, I'm here, creating that compassion for yourself. And then the third tip would be that as you go into more of these movement practices, like for example, if you go to a yoga class, start to ask yourself, what do I actually feel? And if the instructor is saying, okay, do a chaturanga or, come into down dog, just ask yourself, do I want to come into down dog? Does that feel good for me? Is my energy there? Wait, I'm in down dog. Actually, you know what? I don't actually like this. I'm going to come down onto my hands and my knees. So just start to ask yourself, what am I actually feeling? And do I like this? Does this feel good for me or not? And start to build that awareness. Does this feel good for me or not? Does this feel good or not? And it's these little micro steps that's really going to help build that awareness. And that's going to be so valuable later in your embodiment somatic journey.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So beautiful what you've shared with us today. And thank you so much. And I think, the part of small increments every day make a greater impact than wanting to do one big change at once. So you think that they are not contributing to a big picture, but when you look back, those small practices, those small little shifts into, noticing your self-talk, noticing how you're valuing or talking to yourself, or bringing presence to how you feel, and that self-compassion and self-acceptance in the long run, in the big picture, are really making big shifts and changes within yourself. So I just wanted to add that to what you said. I think it was so beautiful, and thank you so much for being here with us, for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love the topic. I really, really loved.
Me too. I also love the insights that you brought as well. It's just, we could be here for hours, I think, talking about this.
Yes, we love about, talking about all these things, but sadly we need to wrap up at some point. So how can people contact you? Where they can go and chat with you if they want to reach out?
Yes. Oh, if you have any questions about anything, please reach out. The easiest way to contact me is on Instagram, alicia.inspired. That's where you can find me and come into my world. I also have a website with my offerings. So I offer yoga, I offer coaching, and I have an upcoming retreat in Bali next year where we're going to be focused on feminine.
All of us.
We need to go. It's very much this work, feminine energy, embodiment, somatic practices. It's going to be, oh my God, I don't even have the words. It's going to be so powerful. I can feel it already. I'm so excited.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
If you want more information, you can find that also aliciainspired.com. And if somatic practice and you want to start your healing journey, you want to balance your energy, you want to build more self-love and confidence, then come have a chat to me about coaching offers that I provide, because I would love to support you on this journey. The more embodied you feel, the more empowered you feel, the more you can change your life, essentially. And I think this work is so important, particularly for women, because there is so much that we are carrying in our bodies from such a long line of women, that it really needs healing. It needs a lot of healing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think is as we start doing all this healing, all this empowered woman starts coming up, because it's the real, we are so powerful. And when I say powerful, it has nothing to do with power. It's more to do with, how intuitive we are, how like it's full of empathy, of love, of compassion for ourselves and the world. We came here to have a big mission as women, and we bring that touch of of nurturance, of empowerment, of compassion. So just like all of us women working together as a collective in this journey is just beautiful. And I love, because I'm also an empowerment coach, and I know you, Alicia, you are as well. So yes, I hope like we are both bringing all this energy as we talk, because as we speak, because this happen because we are doing the inner work. So the more we heal, the more we bring up this like amazing energy that we have, and you who are listening to this podcast have to.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
thank you so
Lifting
much.
women up, my favorite thing ever.
Yes, we lift each other up always. Thank you so much again. For the ones listening to me, I'm launching my new program called Embodied Transformation, which has a lot of these somatic healing, trauma healing. I'm soon to be completing my certification for integrative somatic trauma. So it will have all my previous work and being upgraded in another level. So yes, stay tuned for more details. Thank you so much again, Alicia. We'll put all your details in the description of the podcast so people can contact you.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure to be here. And I love our conversations. So let's stay in touch for sure.
Yes, definitely. And I will see you all soon for another episode of Awaken Woman podcast. Thank you so much.